The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the calmest in chaos. Growth begins the moment you stop blaming and start building. What if your strength was measured by how you respond when life is hard, not how you act when things are easy? What if the real challenge isn't outside of you, but inside your mind? What if the only thing holding you back is the way you think when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed? Everyone wants to feel strong, clear, and confident. But not everyone knows how to build it. A resourceful and resilient mindset is what separates those who keep growing from those who keep giving up. It's not something you wish for, it's something you train for. You train it when you're tired. You build it when things don't go your way. You sharpen it when there's no clear answer. This is where real progress starts. This is where you stop reacting and start leading. Today, you're going to get 10 real ways to build a mind that helps you handle anything life throws at you. Now let's dive in. Number 1. Face your problems with full courage every day. Most people wait for problems to disappear before they move forward. They hope life will somehow get easier, quieter, more manageable. But that's not how life works. Problems don't vanish. They change shapes. They take new forms. And sometimes they grow. If you're waiting for a time without problems, you're waiting for a life that doesn't exist. What makes a person strong and resourceful and resilient is not a life without problems. It's a decision to face what's in front of you fully and without hesitation. Every day you wake up, life is going to hand you something to deal with. Sometimes it's small, a tough conversation, a bill you forgot to pay, a schedule that's packed. Other times, it's heavy, a lost job, a failed relationship, a setback that cuts deep. But here's the truth. Nothing gets better by avoiding it. Fear never makes things go away. Wishing never makes you stronger. Courage is the only way. Now, courage is not something you're born with. You grow it by using it. You build it like a muscle. And the more you use it, the more you realize that most of the things you were afraid of were smaller than they looked. But you never find that out until you face them. When you ignore problems, they don't stay where they are. They grow. They build up. They take over your peace. They steal your confidence. They drain your energy. But when you face a problem with courage, you shrink its power. You tell yourself, I'm not running from this. I'm handling it. I'll do whatever it takes. But I won't look away. That mindset alone starts to shift everything. You begin to move forward, even when you feel uncertain. You stop blaming the world and start building yourself. You stop asking why me and start saying watch me. It's not about pretending you're not scared. It's about deciding to move even when you are. There's a deep strength that comes when you do something you were afraid to do. It doesn't show up right away, but it builds inside you quietly and steadily. Every time you face a difficult moment and step into it with both feet, you're telling your mind, we can do this. We can handle this. And soon your mind starts to believe it. You start to walk with more clarity. You begin to trust your own ability. And courage doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's just getting up when you want to stay in bed. It's showing up when you're tired. It's speaking the truth when it would be easier to stay silent. It's sending the email, making the call, taking the first step. Don't wait for a perfect moment. That moment won't come. You create your moment by showing up even when it's uncomfortable. Think about how many times you've already survived what you once thought you couldn't. You've had days that pushed you to your edge. You've been tired, overwhelmed, unsure, but you're still here. That alone means you have something inside you that keeps going. You may not always feel strong, but you are. You've already proved that. Now it's time to stop doubting it. Start today. Look at one thing you've been avoiding. One conversation, one responsibility, one decision. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And then go do it anyway. Take a breath and move. The fear won't leave first. You have to move through it. That's how you grow. Every time you face a problem, you give yourself a gift. You gain experience. You get sharper. You become less shaken by the unexpected. You learn how to adapt. You discover that problems aren't roadblocks. They're training grounds. And the more you face them, the more you learn how to think clearly under pressure, how to manage your emotions, how to keep your focus when everything around you is loud. That kind of mindset is what keeps you grounded when life throws chaos your way. It's what makes you a steady presence in a storm. When others panic, you think. When others freeze, you act. Because you've trained yourself not to run. You've trained yourself to face things. Understand something important. Nobody gets through life without struggle. The difference between those who break and those who rise is how they respond to it. And your response is always your choice. It may not feel like it at times, but it is. You don't need perfect circumstances to take action. You need commitment. You need to tell yourself, no matter what it is, I will deal with it. I won't make excuses. I won't wait for rescue. I'll handle it. Some days it will be hard. There will be moments when you feel like giving up. That's part of the process. Just don't stop. Don't let fear grow louder than your responsibility. Don't let doubt lead you away from your future. Stand up to it. Remind yourself of what matters. Remind yourself of who you are becoming. People who live with courage are not fearless. They're just more committed to growth than they are to comfort. They'd rather move forward and struggle than stand still and regret. And over time, that choice becomes who they are. So face your problems. Don't hide. Don't escape into distraction. Don't delay what you know needs to be done. Take a deep breath and walk into it. Not halfway, all the way. That's how confidence is born. That's how resilience is built. That's how you become someone who can be trusted. Someone who can carry weight. Someone who others look to not because you're perfect, but because you've proven you won't fold when it gets hard. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to face it. That's the first move. The answers will come. The strength will grow. But first you have to step into it. Fully, every single day. That's the price. And it's worth it. Because a person who faces their problems is a person who wins their life. Number 2, train your mind to stay calm under stress. Life will always have pressure. You will face deadlines you didn't expect. People who frustrate you, moments that catch you off guard. The question is not whether stress will show up. It's whether your mind is ready for it. A calm mind doesn't happen by chance. You have to build it step by step by choosing how you respond when things go wrong. Most people react too fast. They speak before thinking. They act on emotion instead of logic. Then they spend days fixing what they could have prevented in a few seconds of control. To stay calm under stress, you need to practice stillness when your body wants to rush. You need to slow your thoughts when they want to speed up. When something stressful happens, the first instinct is to overthink or panic. You have to catch that moment and take ownership of it. Don't let the moment think for you. Choose your reaction. Take one slow breath. Remind yourself that this is your moment to lead, not to collapse. That's how you gain command of your emotions. Not by avoiding stress, but by learning how to carry it. Most people underestimate how much power they have over their own mind. They treat their thoughts like they're facts. But your thoughts are not always right. You have to step back from them and decide what deserves your focus. A stressful moment will feed you lies. It will tell you you're not ready, that it's too much, that you'll fall apart. But your job is not to believe everything you feel. Your job is to lead yourself through it, one thought at a time. If you want to be calm, you need habits that train you to slow down inside even when everything is fast outside. Wake up early and sit in silence. Pay attention to how your body feels. Notice the thoughts that come up. Don't try to escape them. Learn to sit with discomfort without running. That's how the mind gets stronger. When you stop fighting your thoughts and start watching them, you create distance. And in that distance you find clarity. When pressure hits, remember you don't need to solve everything in one moment. You only need to do the next right thing. That single decision creates momentum. Don't aim to fix the whole situation at once. Aim to stay centered. When you keep your mind steady, even small actions move you forward. Clarity grows when you're not rushing to escape the discomfort. One of the most effective things you can do is speak calmly even when you feel tense. The way you speak influences the way you think. If you raise your voice, your emotions rise too. But when you choose a steady tone, you tell your system that you're in control. Words have weight. Choose the ones that ground you. Use simple language. Say what matters. Let go of trying to sound impressive and focus on being clear. Don't wait for stress to pass. Use it to sharpen your mind. Look at the situation and ask yourself what you can learn from it. Every challenge carries a lesson in emotional control. You won't grow by avoiding hard moments. You grow by working through them with attention and effort. If you train your mind in the small things, you'll be ready for the big ones. The person who can stay calm in chaos becomes a steady leader, someone others look to when things get difficult. You don't train your mind by chance. You train it by conscious repetition. Start with simple actions. When you feel overwhelmed, pause before reacting. When your heart races, bring your focus to your breath. When your mind floods with thoughts, write them down. Don't try to fix them all. Just get them out of your head so you can think clearly. These small practices build a solid inner structure. You become more aware of how your mind works, which gives you the ability to direct it. Stress often shows you where your thinking patterns are weak. That's a signal, not a failure. If you panic every time you're criticized, that's a sign to work on self-worth. If you freeze when you're under pressure, that's a cue to practice decision-making. Every stressful moment reveals something about you. Pay attention. Use it to your advantage. Growth doesn't come from avoiding difficulty. It comes from learning how to function through it with a steady hand. To stay calm under pressure, create routines that ground you before the stress arrives. Eat food that keeps your energy stable. Keep your space clean so your surroundings don't add to the noise. Plan your day so you're not reacting to everything. Don't overload your time with commitments you can't manage. A calm life begins with clear structure. That structure supports a steady mind. When your environment is less chaotic, your thinking becomes more balanced. Emotional discipline is built the same way physical strength is. You show up and put in the work, even when it's uncomfortable. You practice sitting in silence. You journal your thoughts without judgment. You go on walks without your phone, so your mind has space to breathe. You stop running from your feelings and start listening to what they're trying to tell you. You don't need to numb yourself to be calm. You need to be honest with yourself. Every person will face moments that test their limits. The difference lies in who has prepared for those moments. Most people hope for peace, but those who are calm have built it. They've practiced it in the early mornings, in quiet decisions, in hard conversations. They've studied their habits. They've faced their fears head on. And when stress shows up, they're not surprised. They're ready. Calmness is not a gift someone gives you. It's a skill you earn. It's created through action, not luck. You take responsibility for how you think. You don't wait for life to be easier. You choose to be stronger. You put time into developing focus. You work on your breathing. You protect your sleep. You manage your attention. You hold yourself accountable for how you show up, no matter how difficult the moment is. Train your mind like it's your greatest tool, because it is. You don't have to control the world around you to be calm. You only need to manage what's inside. Learn to stop before you speak. Think before you decide. Sit before you react. If you can do that, you start to trust yourself. That trust turns into stability, and stability becomes strength. Stress will come again. That's guaranteed. What matters is whether you meet it with chaos or calm. You don't need more time. You need more control over your focus. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be present. You don't need to fight your emotions. You only need to understand them. The mind you train today becomes your strength tomorrow. Keep building it. Keep showing up. Keep choosing calm, every single time. Number 3. Push yourself to grow through every hard time. Every person faces moments they didn't ask for. Moments that test their patience, shake their confidence, and challenge what they thought they could handle. These are not moments to avoid. They are moments to use. Growth doesn't happen when everything feels smooth. It happens when things are uncomfortable, and you keep going anyway. You will never unlock your full strength until life puts some weight on your shoulders. And in those moments, The only real question is whether you will step up or step back. You can't grow by staying where it's easy. Every hard time carries something that will teach you if you choose to engage with it. The pain of loss, the stress of failure, the sting of rejection, the uncertainty of change. These are not just problems to survive. They are lessons to study. If you run from them, you repeat them. If you face them, you rise from them. Growth doesn't ask for comfort. It asks for your commitment to become someone stronger than you were. It's easy to wait for the struggle to pass and tell yourself you'll grow once it's over. But that's not how it works. You grow in the middle of it. While you're tired, while you're uncertain, while you don't have the answers. That's the exact time to dig deeper and ask more of yourself. Not later. Right now, this is where you sharpen your thinking. This is where you learn what you're made of. If you keep waiting for an easier season, you miss the opportunity to become tougher in this one. Push yourself by asking better questions. Instead of asking why this is happening, ask what it's building in you. Ask what qualities you're developing. Ask what weaknesses are being exposed so you can improve them. Ask how you can lead yourself instead of waiting for someone else to fix it. When you start thinking like this, hard times don't shrink you. They shape you. Nobody grows without effort. You can read every book and listen to every speech, but until you apply pressure to your own habits, nothing changes. When things are hard, you have to challenge your excuses. You have to confront your laziness. You have to do what's necessary even when it's uncomfortable. That's how real transformation happens. One decision at a time, one step at a time, and not just when you feel motivated, especially when you don't. You will always have a choice when things get hard. You can avoid or you can engage. Avoidance feels easier in the short term, but it builds regret over time. Engaging with difficulty is uncomfortable, but it builds character. Every time you do something you didn't think you could do, you prove to yourself that you're more capable than you thought. And once you know that, it's very hard to go back to being passive. You have to be honest with yourself about how you're handling hard times. Are you escaping through distraction? Are you blaming others instead of taking responsibility? Are you hiding behind fear instead of making a plan? Growth doesn't come from pretending everything's fine. It comes from being brutally honest and doing the work anyway. It's about saying, yes, this is tough, but I won't stay stuck here. I will use this to improve. When things fall apart, it's easy to feel like you're falling apart too. But what's really happening is, you're being given a new challenge to rise to. The old way of thinking won't work anymore. The old habits won't carry you forward. Something has to change. And that something is you. You don't need to be perfect to grow. You need to be willing. Willing to keep showing up. Willing to push when you feel like quitting. Willing to believe in progress, even when it feels slow. Don't expect the path to feel smooth. Growth is often awkward. It's full of effort, mistakes, reflection, and redirection. That's part of the process. Don't make the mistake of thinking that struggle means failure. Struggle is often the proof that you're stretching. If you're not struggling, you're probably not growing. Learn to welcome the discomfort as part of what it takes to evolve. You're not supposed to feel ready all the time. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. The work is messy. The emotions are real. But you must keep moving forward. Forward doesn't mean fast. It means consistent. It means you keep working on yourself. Even if the results are slow to show up. Most growth happens silently. Others might not see it, but you will feel it in the way you handle pressure, the way you speak to yourself, the way you take control of your choices. Every difficult situation is an invitation to develop something stronger in yourself. It could be discipline, patience, clarity, or resilience, but it won't be handed to you. You have to push for it. You have to wake up and decide that today you will not be a victim of your situation. You will be a participant in your transformation. No one else can do that for you. That is your responsibility. The mind wants comfort. It wants to take the path of least resistance. You have to lead your mind. You have to say no to the easy way out, and yes to the way forward. That doesn't mean you never rest. It means your rest has purpose. It recharges you to go back and face the challenge. Because you are not here to coast. You are here to become something better. Hard times will keep coming. They don't stop, but you can change how you face them. You can stop dreading them and start using them. You can build a mindset that says, I don't break under pressure. I build under pressure. That kind of mindset gives you control over your life. Not because life is easier, but because you've made yourself stronger. There will be days when you're tempted to shrink, to hide, to retreat. But those are the days you must go the other way. You must face the difficulty head on and say, this is the moment I grow. This is where I build something new. This is where I stop waiting and start rising. You are not weak just because you're tired. You are not failing just because it's taking longer than you thought. The fact that you're still pushing forward means you haven't given up, and that alone makes you stronger than you were yesterday. Keep pushing, keep learning, keep becoming. That's how growth happens. Not in a flash, but in the small choices you make when everything feels heavy and you keep going anyway. Number 4, build confidence by doing what scares you most. Confidence is not something you wait for, it's something you create. And the only way to create it is by walking directly into what makes you nervous. Most people think confidence comes first. They wait to feel ready before they act. But that's not how it works. You act first, and then you grow into the kind of person who knows they can handle it. Every time you do the thing you've been avoiding, you prove to yourself that fear doesn't have the final say. And that proof becomes strength. There's always something you're afraid of. Speaking in front of others, saying what you really feel, starting something new, leaving behind what's comfortable. The list goes on, but confidence is built when you stop treating fear like a wall and start seeing it as a signal. That signal is not telling you to run. It's telling you where your next level lives. If it scares you, that's exactly where you should go. Doing what scares you isn't about being reckless, it's about being brave. And bravery is quiet. It's the decision to show up even when your hands shake. It's the choice to say yes, even when your stomach is tight. It's the moment you feel doubt, but you move anyway. Every one of those moments adds to the trust you have in yourself, and trust is the foundation of confidence. Most people stay stuck, not because they can't grow, but because they never put themselves in a position to discover what they're capable of. They avoid risk, they stay silent, they settle for what they already know. And every time they do that, they reinforce the belief that they're not strong enough. That belief becomes a habit, and that habit turns into a life of hesitation. If you want to break that pattern, you have to face the exact things you've been running from. It's not about eliminating fear, it's about shrinking its power over you. And the only way to do that is by walking into it again and again until it loses its grip. When you do something that scares you, it's rarely as bad as you imagined. Your mind builds it up to be a monster. But once you face it, you realize it's just another challenge that you can learn to handle. And that realization gives you more strength than anything else. You build confidence by collecting small wins, not waiting for one big breakthrough. Speak up in a conversation, even if your voice shakes. Try a new skill, even if you look awkward. Make the first move, even if you're unsure how it will go. These may seem like small steps, but each one matters. Each one is a brick in the foundation of belief. That belief turns into momentum, and that momentum carries you to new heights. The longer you avoid fear, the stronger it feels. But when you face it, it starts to dissolve. You begin to see that fear is just uncertainty, and uncertainty is where growth lives. Don't let the unknown become the reason you stay the same. Let it become the reason you rise. People often look at those who seem confident and think they were born that way. But they weren't. They just made a decision. A decision to stop backing down. A decision to lean into the hard things. A decision to risk discomfort for the sake of becoming more. You can make that same decision. No one's stopping you but you. Every time you take action in the face of fear, you get stronger. Not just in that area, but across your whole mindset. You start believing in your ability to figure things out. You stop needing certainty before moving forward. And you begin to understand that confidence is not about perfection. It's about progression. You are not trying to be fearless. You are learning how to act in spite of fear. You can't build confidence in your head. You have to build it in your actions. That means doing hard things when no one is watching, practicing even when no one is clapping, trying again even after you stumble. These are the moments that count. These are the moments that shape who you become. Start with what's right in front of you. What have you been putting off because it feels intimidating? That's your training ground. That's where your growth lives. Don't wait for some magical day when everything aligns. That day won't come. What you have is now, and now is enough to begin. The fear you feel is not a signal to stop. It's a message telling you this matters. If it didn't matter, it wouldn't affect you. The presence of fear means this is something important, something that can stretch you, something that can change the way you see yourself. If you want to become the kind of person who trusts their ability to rise, then you have to go where that trust is built, in the middle of the challenge. Fear becomes smaller when you give it less power. You do that by acting. Even when your heart races, even when your mind fills with doubt, even when your body wants to run, you stay, you breathe, you move forward. That's how you take your power back. Don't confuse fear with danger. Most of what scares you won't hurt you. It just challenges the story you've been telling yourself. The story that you're not enough, that you don't belong, that you can't do it. And every time you face fear, you rewrite that story. You replace it with proof that you are capable, prepared, and willing. Confidence is not the absence of nerves. It's the presence of action. You will still feel the fear. That's part of it. But you will act anyway. And over time, that action becomes your new standard. You stop shrinking. You stop second-guessing. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You begin to expect more from yourself. You expect to try. You expect to lead. You expect to keep going, even when it gets messy. And that shift in expectation changes everything. It's no longer about what you fear. It's about who you choose to be in the face of it. Courage isn't loud. It's steady. It's the quiet voice that says, I will try again tomorrow. It's the simple act of doing the hard thing today, without needing applause. Confidence comes from those quiet victories, the ones no one else sees. But you know you earned. You have more in you than you think. But you won't find it by avoiding what's hard. You'll find it by doing the thing that makes you nervous, and realizing you're still standing. You're stronger than the fear. You're bigger than the doubt. And every time you prove that to yourself, your confidence grows. Keep doing the hard thing. Keep stepping into the fear. That's where the real you is waiting. Number 5. Take control of your thoughts with full awareness. Your mind is powerful, but only when you take charge of it. If you leave it unattended, it runs wild. It starts to create stories that are not based on truth. It brings up memories that no longer help you, and predictions that are shaped by fear, not facts. That's why awareness is not a soft idea. It is strength. It is where self-control begins. Until you see your thoughts clearly, you will continue to follow them blindly. The first step is to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one observing them. Most people never stop to question what they're thinking. They feel sad and assume the thought behind it must be right. They feel anxious and let that feeling take control. But thoughts are like visitors. They show up uninvited. Some stay longer than they should. But you always have the right to choose which ones you give your energy to. To take control, you must begin with watching. Not judging, not reacting, just watching. What are you thinking when you wake up? What runs through your mind when things go wrong? What do you tell yourself when you're under pressure? Write it down if you need to. See it clearly, because once you see it, you can challenge it. Awareness is your first line of defense. It is how you stop your thoughts from becoming your identity. If a negative thought shows up, it doesn't mean it belongs to you. You get to ask, does this thought serve me? Does it move me forward? Does it make me stronger? If the answer is no, then you can let it pass without letting it shape your mood, your choices, or your day. Taking control doesn't mean you never feel anything. It means you become skilled at separating truth from reaction. You understand that just because a thought feels urgent doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Most of the noise in your mind is not about the present moment. It's about something that happened or something that might happen. But real power lives in the now. You can't direct your life while trapped in yesterday or frozen by tomorrow. Training your mind requires daily effort. It's not something you do once and forget. It's something you return to every morning. You check in with yourself. You notice when your thoughts start to spin. You take a breath. You bring yourself back to where you are. You remind yourself that you are in charge, not the noise in your head. This discipline builds mental strength, and mental strength changes everything. When you start paying attention, you'll see how many thoughts are not even yours. They're old voices from childhood, warnings from others, judgments you absorbed from the world around you. You don't have to hold on to those. You get to build your own thoughts now. Thoughts that support your growth. Thoughts that reflect who you're becoming, not who you were. That choice belongs to you. Some people go their entire lives without realizing how their thinking shapes their world. They respond to everything on autopilot. They react out of habit, and they wonder why nothing changes. But if you learn to pause, if you learn to be fully aware of what your mind is doing, then you gain the power to shift your response. That shift is where resilience starts. There will be moments when your mind wants to panic, when it tells you everything is going wrong, when it whispers that you're not good enough. That's when you practice. That's when you stop and ask yourself, what do I know to be true right now? What is one helpful thought I can focus on? You take back the wheel. You choose the direction. You stop letting fear write your script. Your thoughts influence your emotions. Your emotions influence your behavior. Your behavior shapes your outcomes. It all starts at the top. And if your thinking is filled with doubt, fear, and confusion, then your actions will follow that pattern. But if your thinking is grounded in clarity, purpose, and self-respect, your decisions will match. You don't need a perfect mindset. You need an honest one. One that you're willing to improve daily. Don't wait for negative thoughts to disappear. Learn to meet them with awareness. Learn to ask where they came from. Learn to question their truth. Most of your anxiety lives in the space between what you feel and what's actually happening. Awareness closes that gap. It brings you back to solid ground. It helps you respond instead of react. It's easy to get pulled into thoughts that spiral, but you can train your mind to pause. You can tell yourself, this is just a thought. It's not a command. It's not a fact. And in that moment, you weaken its hold. You bring yourself back to your values, back to your priorities, back to the part of you that leads with wisdom, not emotion. Every day is a new chance to watch your mind work. Every challenge is an opportunity to see what thoughts show up and which ones you choose to keep. Some thoughts push you forward. Some hold you back. The key is to know the difference. And the only way to know the difference is to stay present and aware. This kind of awareness helps you grow, not only mentally but emotionally. You stop being ruled by moods. You become better at choosing your attitude, even in hard times. You learn that your thoughts may be loud, but they don't control your next move, unless you let them. That kind of control brings peace. And peace is a powerful place to live from. You don't need to fight every thought. You just need to stop feeding the ones that drain you. Focus your energy on the thoughts that build courage, that remind you of your goals, that reflect the future you're working for. Feed those thoughts. Let them grow stronger. Let them become your default. You're not weak for having negative thoughts. You're human. But what sets you apart is what you do with them. You can pause. You can breathe. You can take a step back and remember, you are the thinker, not the thought. And that truth gives you power. Real power. The kind that doesn't get shaken easily. The kind that helps you stay steady when everything else feels uncertain. Practice catching yourself when your mind starts to wander. Gently bring it back. Over and over again. That repetition rewires how you think. It makes you more intentional. It makes you more present. And it makes you more in control of your life. The more aware you become, the clearer your path becomes. You start making decisions based on what matters instead of what you fear. You start speaking from clarity instead of confusion. And you start becoming someone who is not easily shaken by what's happening outside, because you've learned how to steady yourself inside. That's the kind of strength that lasts. That's the mindset that wins. Number 6. Practice solving problems without asking for help. There's a strength that only shows up when you decide to figure things out on your own. It's not about pride, and it's not about proving anything to others. It's about teaching yourself to rely on your own mind, your own judgment, and your own ability to push through confusion and find clarity. When you practice solving problems without immediately reaching out for help, you give yourself the gift of self-trust. You begin to understand how capable you truly are, and that realization changes the way you face the world. Most people are quick to ask for a shortcut. They want someone to walk them through it. They want an answer handed to them so they can move on. But you don't grow stronger by being told what to do. You grow stronger by sitting with the unknown, working through the difficulty, and figuring out what makes sense through trial and correction. That's where real progress happens. Not when things are easy, but when they demand something deeper from you. You don't have to get it right the first time. That's not the goal. The goal is to build the ability to stay with a problem long enough to learn from it. To look at a challenge and say, I don't know yet, but I will find out. That mindset creates independence. That mindset builds personal discipline. You stop depending on someone to bail you out every time you get stuck. Instead, you learn to pause, think critically, and apply what you already know. The moment you stop leaning on others for every answer, you begin to notice just how much you've already learned. You start pulling from your own experiences. You begin to understand patterns. You see what works and what doesn't. You experiment. You analyze. You reflect. And those skills become part of you. They go with you into the next situation, making you faster, sharper, and more prepared. When you practice solving problems on your own, you also remove the fear of being alone. You stop waiting for someone else to come to your rescue. That builds emotional strength. That gives you a calmness that's hard to shake. You know that no matter what comes up, you'll find a way through it. Not because someone else told you what to do, but because you've trained yourself to keep going until you find a way. There's value in help, of course, but too much of it can weaken your edge. If you always turn to someone else, your mind gets lazy. You stop paying attention to detail. You stop asking your own questions. You stop thinking deeply. You become passive in your own life. That's not how you build a resilient mind. That's not how you become resourceful. True growth demands that you try first, fully, completely, and only then if you must. Seek guidance with specific understanding. Sometimes you'll be wrong. That's part of the process. You'll take a step that doesn't work. You'll choose an option that falls apart. But what matters is that you made the move, and you learned from it. You made the mistake and you adjusted. You stayed with the problem long enough to stretch your thinking. That effort becomes your strength. That struggle makes you sharper. The world doesn't reward people who avoid difficulty. It rewards those who face it. The ones who say, I may not have all the answers, but I'll start where I am. Those are the people who rise. Those are the people who lead. Not because they know everything, but because they're willing to figure things out without waiting for perfect conditions or outside direction. You learn patience when you solve problems alone. You learn how to slow down and think through each step. You learn how to stay grounded when frustration builds. And in that process, you gain control over your emotions. You stop panicking when something doesn't work. You stop blaming others. You stop feeling stuck. Instead, you look at what's in front of you, and you start breaking it down, one piece at a time. It might feel uncomfortable at first. That's natural. You'll be tempted to send a message, make a call, search for an easy answer. But if you resist that urge and push yourself to look deeper, something shifts inside you. You realize that discomfort is part of learning, that not knowing right away doesn't make you incapable. It makes you human, and it gives you a chance to rise. Think about the people you admire. Those who stay calm under pressure, who lead teams, who solve complex problems, who make good decisions. They weren't born that way. They got that way by facing hard situations without always reaching for help. They developed confidence by making mistakes, correcting them, and moving forward. That path is available to you. It starts when you decide to be your own first solution. There will always be people who mean well, who want to help you, and sometimes you'll accept it. But don't make help your first move. Make effort your first move. Make observation your first move. Make thinking your first move. Learn to exhaust your own thinking before you invite someone else into the picture. That habit will sharpen your intelligence and increase your independence. Each time you solve a problem on your own, you raise your self-respect. You start to see yourself differently. You no longer feel small when facing uncertainty. You no longer freeze when something unexpected shows up. You know that you've handled things before, and you will handle them again. That quiet confidence is not loud, but it's strong. It shows in your attitude, your choices, and the way you carry yourself in difficult moments. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. Start with the next small challenge. Maybe it's fixing something in your home. Maybe it's handling a task at work that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's making a decision without calling 5 people for opinions. Try to do it on your own first. Give yourself time. Don't rush. Think it through. Make the effort. The learning will come through the doing. When you rely less on others, you rely more on your own growth. You stop comparing your path to someone else's. You stop waiting for validation. You stop asking for permission to act. You become the kind of person who moves with quiet strength because you've built your mind through effort, through challenge, and through personal discipline. That kind of mind doesn't crumble. That kind of mind leads. Solving problems without asking for help doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you trust your own ability enough to face the challenge first. It means you treat your mind as capable, not fragile. It means you act from courage, not convenience. That approach builds resilience. It prepares you for real-world difficulties. It helps you grow into someone who can be counted on, not just by others, but by yourself. Number 7, wake up early and start with clear direction. Waking up early is not just about getting ahead of others. It's about setting the tone for your life. When you open your eyes before the world gets loud, you claim control over your own time. You get to decide how your day begins. Instead of reacting to everything that's thrown at you, the quiet of the early morning gives you space to think, plan, and prepare. And that space, when used right, builds structure, focus, and strength that stays with you all day. Most people wake up rushed. They hit the alarm 2 or 3 times. They check their phone before they even sit up. They're already behind before they've even started. But when you wake up early, you remove that chaos. You slow things down. You give yourself a moment to remember who you are and where you're headed. That moment of quiet reflection is where power begins. It's where you remind yourself of your goals. It's where you decide what matters and what doesn't. You don't allow the day to run you. You take charge of the day with intention. Starting your day with clear direction doesn't mean you plan out every second. It means you know what your priorities are. It means you choose your focus before the world distracts you. When you wake up early and take a few minutes to identify what you need to do, you move with purpose. You're not guessing. You're not drifting. You're acting. That habit, done daily, builds confidence because you're no longer scattered. You're not wondering what's next. You're certain of what you need to accomplish. Clarity doesn't happen by accident. You must take time to create it. That's why the early hours matter. They're your time. No one's calling you. No one's asking you to solve something. No one's pulling you in 5 directions. It's you with your thoughts. You with your goals. You with your commitment to grow. That space is rare and it's powerful. Use it wisely, and you'll notice how much calmer, clearer, and more capable you become throughout the day. People often ask how to stay focused. It starts with how you begin. If you begin with noise, distraction, and urgency, you stay in that mode all day. But if you begin with calm, structure, and clarity, you stay rooted in what matters. You become less reactive. You stop chasing and start building. You move from a place of direction, not confusion. The mind is sharper in the morning. It hasn't been drained by decisions or drained by people. That's why you must protect those early hours. Use them to feed your mind with the right thoughts. Write down your priorities, review your progress, set your intentions. These are not big tasks. They take a few minutes, but the impact is enormous. It's not just about productivity, it's about peace. You stop carrying the weight of confusion because you've already decided where your energy will go. When you wake up early, you stop rushing. You get to eat slowly. You get to move your body. You get to breathe. That routine doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be deliberate. Because how you spend the first hour of your day often shapes how you handle the rest of it. The more consistent you are, the more steady your mindset becomes. You stop being thrown around by surprises because you've already built a mental foundation before the world even touched you. You don't need to be perfect. Some days you'll feel tired. Some mornings will be slower than others. But the habit of rising early and starting with direction teaches your body and your mind discipline. It shows you that you're serious. You're not drifting through life hoping things turn out well. You're shaping your direction with real actions. That kind of self-respect is earned every morning when you get up and follow through even when no one's watching. There's something powerful about being awake while the world is still quiet. You realize you don't need to follow everyone's pace. You set your own. You take responsibility for your focus. You understand that the first decision you make, getting up with purpose, sets the stage for everything else. If you delay the first decision, it becomes easier to delay the rest. But if you get up and begin with clarity, you set a pattern of discipline that guides you through the whole day. Many people wait until problems show up before they take control. But people with direction act before there's a problem. They prevent confusion by getting clear early. They reduce stress by making decisions before pressure shows up. They choose what matters before distractions appear. That's what waking up early gives you a head start on your own peace and performance. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need a clear one. What are the top 3 things you want to accomplish? What attitude do you want to bring? Who do you want to be today? These are small questions, but they keep you rooted. They remind you of your identity. They keep you from drifting into someone else's agenda. Over time, this daily habit creates a strong inner structure. You become someone who doesn't get pulled away by random events. You hold your direction. You move through your day with a steady pace, even when things go wrong, and they will. You return to your focus quickly, because you began with intention. You didn't leave the day up to chance. You don't have to wake up at a specific hour. You just need to wake up earlier than the noise, earlier than the demands, earlier than the pressure. Give yourself that time, not to scroll, not to distract, but to build, to think, to plan. That short window builds long-term resilience. Because you're no longer reacting, you're choosing. You might feel tired at first. Your body might resist the change. That's expected. But the more you practice, the more your body adapts. And soon your mind follows. It begins to crave that early stillness. It begins to rely on that clear direction. And your day becomes a reflection of that internal order. This is how you stop feeling lost. This is how you stop feeling overwhelmed. You stop waiting for clarity to arrive. And you start creating it every single morning. You train yourself to live with direction. You train yourself to move with purpose. You train yourself to take charge before anyone else has the chance to set the tone for you. That choice belongs to you, every day. Number 8. Commit to learning something useful every single day. There's nothing more powerful than a person who decides to keep growing. Every single day brings a chance to pick up something new that can make you stronger, wiser, or more capable. And not just in theory, useful learning, something you can actually apply to your life, your work, your thinking. That kind of knowledge builds real power. It sharpens the mind. It strengthens decision-making. It prepares you for situations you haven't even faced yet. And the beauty is, it doesn't take hours. It takes commitment. A choice each day to say, I'm going to add something to myself that I didn't know yesterday. Most people wait until life forces them to grow. They wait for a setback, a challenge, or a mistake before they think, I need to get better. But the person who makes learning a daily habit doesn't wait. They choose to grow on purpose. And that choice gives them a kind of quiet strength. They don't feel behind. They don't feel confused. Because every day they're adding one more piece to their personal toolbox, one more insight, one more strategy, one more way to move forward. You don't have to go back to school. You don't need a formal class. You just need a curious mind and the discipline to stay with it. It could be a few pages of a good book. It could be a short video that teaches you a better way to think. It could be reflecting on a conversation and pulling out a lesson you didn't see at the time. It could even be reviewing your own actions and figuring out what you could improve. Every day has a lesson built in. You just have to be willing to see it. The difference between someone who keeps growing and someone who stays stuck is often that one little decision each morning. The decision to learn, to look for value, to use the day not just to pass time, but to build something inside. That's what turns average people into capable people. They aren't waiting for luck. They're equipping themselves with knowledge and understanding so they can shape their own outcomes. Learning something useful every day also builds self-respect. Because it's you investing in yourself when no one's asking you to. No teacher, no test, no deadline, just your own personal standard. And when you hold yourself to that standard, your mindset shifts. You stop complaining about what you don't know because you're doing something about it. You stop blaming others for your lack of progress because you've taken responsibility for your own development. Some people say they don't have time, but it's not about time. It's about priority. You can learn in 5 minutes if you decide those 5 minutes matter. You can learn while you're walking, while you're commuting, even while you're doing basic tasks. It's not about cramming information. It's about staying engaged with life. Staying awake, paying attention, asking yourself what this moment has to teach you. And when you make that a way of life, everything changes. You start to see connections between things you never noticed before. You start to recognize patterns. You begin to make better choices because you're not reacting blindly anymore. You've seen more, learned more, understood more. You're not stuck in the same old thinking. You've upgraded it with something fresh, something real. That kind of learning is not just for big goals. It helps with the small daily choices too. How to manage your emotions, how to speak more clearly, how to lead yourself when you feel unsure, how to be present when your mind wants to wander. These are skills you build with small pieces of learning each day. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Every day that passes is a day you can't get back. But if you learn something from it, it wasn't wasted. If you took away a tool you can use tomorrow, then that day added something to your future. That's how people who grow think. They don't just live for entertainment. They don't spend all day in distraction. They don't let the hours slip by without taking something from them. They're constantly picking up what's useful, what's valuable, what can make them stronger in the long run. Sometimes the lesson is in failure. Sometimes it's in watching how someone else handled a situation. Sometimes it's in sitting with a difficult emotion and asking yourself what it's trying to teach you. It's not always a textbook. Sometimes the lesson is right there in real life. You just have to stop and think long enough to see it. There's also a kind of confidence that builds over time when you commit to learning every day, because you stop feeling like life is too big for you. You stop feeling behind. You know that whatever you don't know today, you can learn tomorrow. You trust your ability to figure things out. You stop needing everything to be perfect, because you know how to adapt and adjust. That kind of mental strength comes from consistent learning, from the daily decision to improve just a little bit. People often overestimate what they can do in a short time, and they underestimate what they can do in a year. But if you learned one useful thing every single day, just one thing, that's 365 new skills, ideas, or tools in a year. Imagine how much more capable you'd feel. Imagine how much more calm you'd be under pressure. Imagine how much more value you could bring to everything you touch. The goal isn't to learn everything. The goal is to keep learning something. That mindset keeps you humble, but it also keeps you powerful, because the person who's learning is always improving, and the person who's improving never stays stuck. They might stumble, they might slow down, but they don't stop. They've built the habit of growth, and that habit carries them forward through every season of life. You don't need motivation every day. You need a system, a simple routine that reminds you today, I add something to myself. Today I learn something that matters. Maybe I listen to 10 minutes of a podcast. Maybe I write down one thing I didn't understand before. Maybe I practice a new way of solving a problem. These things take effort, but not as much as staying stuck does. And the return is far greater.
Life gets better when you get better. Relationships improve when you understand more. Work becomes more manageable when you know more. Decisions get easier when you've trained your mind to think clearly. And all of that begins with a commitment, a small, steady promise to yourself. Every day, I will grow. Every day, I will stretch. Every day, I will add something useful to the way I live, think, and work.
Number 9. Choose action instead of complaining when life gets hard. Life will not always go your way. There will be moments when things feel unfair, when situations feel heavy, and when pressure starts to build from every side. And in those moments, you will always have a choice. You can either start pointing fingers, blaming the world, and complaining about what's wrong, or you can take action. Not massive, perfect action. Just movement. A clear decision to do something that brings even a little progress forward. That's where power lives. Not in talking about the problem again and again, but in doing something that begins to solve it. Complaining feels good in the moment because it gives us something to say. It gives a voice to our frustration. But it changes nothing. It doesn't fix the situation. It doesn't improve your thinking. It doesn't move you forward. In fact, it pulls you deeper into the very thing you're upset about. It gives energy to your anger, your helplessness, your fear. And the more you repeat it, the more it becomes your default, until one day you stop believing you can change anything at all. Action, on the other hand, is uncomfortable at first. It forces you to take responsibility. It demands that you rise above your feelings and step into effort. But that effort brings you somewhere new. It gives you direction. It builds momentum. And little by little, it makes you feel stronger. Not because the situation became easy, but because you chose to face it with movement instead of noise. The truth is, hard times don't care how much you complain. They don't get easier because you explain your problems more clearly. What changes your life is not how well you describe the issue, but how quickly you begin solving it. Even if you don't have the perfect answer, even if you feel unsure, the person who moves, even in small ways, is already ahead of the person who's waiting for the right time to act. When life gets hard, one of the most important things you can do is keep your mind focused on solutions. What can I do today that helps? What's one thing I can fix or change or face? Maybe it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's organizing your plan. Maybe it's setting a boundary or making a decision you've delayed for too long. You won't always know the full road ahead, but you can take the next step, and that next step is where strength is built. You build confidence when you act despite how you feel. You build discipline when you choose effort over excuses. You build wisdom when you try something, learn from it, and adjust. None of that comes from sitting still and talking about how difficult things are. It comes from moving, doing, trying, failing, and adjusting again. People often wait until they feel ready. They wait until the stress dies down, or until their emotions settle. But sometimes, those feelings don't go away. Sometimes you have to take action while they're still there. You have to make the decision to move forward, not because it feels perfect, but because staying stuck costs too much. Think about the energy it takes to complain. Think about how drained you feel after a long day of going over the same problems in your mind. Now imagine using that energy to take small, focused actions instead. Imagine how different your mindset would be if you trained yourself to say, "What can I do right now?" instead of "Why is this happening?" That shift alone can turn you from passive to powerful. The people who rise during hard times are not the ones who had fewer problems. They're the ones who refused to waste time in self-pity. They felt the frustration, but they didn't stay there. They felt the weight, but they didn't let it pin them down. They stood up and said, "What's the first thing I can do with what I've got?" That attitude changes everything. Taking action doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means giving your energy to things that move your life forward. It means choosing to be the kind of person who creates progress, even in pressure. That mindset separates those who keep growing from those who give up. Sometimes, your action will be big. Other times, it will be small. What matters is not the size, it's the consistency. A small action done today is more valuable than a big plan you never start. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait until the stress disappears.
Choose movement. Choose effort. Choose to be the person who refuses to stay stuck just because life got hard. You have more strength than you think. You have more ability than you've used. But you'll never find it by sitting still and talking about what's wrong. You find it by getting up and doing something, anything that pushes you forward. When you start doing that daily, it becomes a habit, a way of life. You begin to face problems with a mindset that says, I don't have to have it all figured out, but I can make progress. And when you commit to that, you start becoming someone you respect. Someone who doesn't fold under pressure. Someone who doesn't wait for others to fix things. Someone who knows that even in hard times, they have the ability to do something that matters. That self-respect is priceless. It carries you through uncertainty. It makes you believe in yourself in a way that no outside approval ever could. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to refuse to waste another day complaining about the same problem. You need to decide that your energy is better spent building than breaking down, better spent trying than blaming, better spent changing than repeating the same old story. That's how growth happens. That's how resilience is built. Not from comfort, but from challenge. Not from ease, but from effort. The person who acts during stress becomes the person who thrives after it. They walk through pressure, not because they like it, but because they refuse to let it stop them. Make that your standard. Make that your identity. Be the one who acts. Be the one who moves forward even when it's difficult. Choose action, and keep choosing it, again and again, because in that choice, you become the kind of person who gets stronger no matter what life throws at you.
Number 10. Stand up again every time you feel like quitting. There are going to be times when the weight feels too heavy to carry. There will be moments when every effort feels useless and the road ahead looks too long to walk. You'll be tired. You'll be frustrated. You'll wonder why you even started. And in those moments, quitting will look like the easier path. It will seem like stepping back might bring relief. But what you do in those exact moments defines who you become. Not the easy days, not the days when motivation is high, but the days when you feel like giving up. That is when your strength is built. Most people quit right before they were about to see change. They stop because pain blinds them from the progress that's actually happening. They stop because the results don't show up fast enough. They stop because it hurts. But growth hurts. Progress requires discomfort. And pushing through that discomfort is what makes a person unstoppable. It's what gives you a mindset that can't be broken, even when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. You don't need to have it all together to keep going. You don't need to feel strong to make the next move. All you need is the decision to stand up again. One more time. Every time you fall, every time you break down, every time you feel like you've reached your limit, you stand. You rise with what you have left, even if it's not much. You rise not because it's easy, but because staying down is not who you want to be. You build resilience by refusing to accept defeat as your final answer. You build courage by acting while you're still scared. You build grit by showing up on the days when motivation is gone and pressure is high. These are the days that count. These are the moments that shape you. Not when the sun is shining, but when everything inside you says, I can't do this anymore. And you do it anyway. You won't always feel confident. You won't always feel ready. But if you keep getting back up, you'll start to feel proud. You'll look back one day and realize that your strength wasn't in how perfect your path was. It was in how often you chose to keep going. When your body said stop, when your mind said enough, and your heart said try one more time. That's where the change happened. It's easy to talk about goals when everything is going right. It's easy to make plans when you're feeling good. But goals aren't achieved through talk. They're built through action taken on the hard days. Through choices made when no one's watching, through quiet efforts that no one praises but you keep doing them anyway. The people who win in life are not the ones who never feel like quitting. They're the ones who feel it often, but rise anyway. You can feel tired, you can feel lost, you can cry, you can scream, but you cannot stay down. Not if you want to grow, not if you want to change, not if you want your life to be more than just talk. You stand up because your purpose matters more than your pain. You stand because your future is built by how you respond in the moments that break most people. When you feel like quitting, your emotions will try to convince you that you're weak. But emotions aren't facts. Just because you feel defeated doesn't mean you are. Just because today was hard doesn't mean tomorrow will be the same. But you'll never find out if you stay on the ground. You only discover your next level when you take the step you didn't think you could. If it's hard, you're doing something that matters. If it hurts, you're growing. If it feels like too much, that means you're pushing your limits. And that's exactly where transformation begins. Nothing worth having is built without moments of wanting to quit. The ones who make it are not better than you. They're just the ones who got back up one more time. Remember how far you've come. Remember what you've already survived. Remember the times when you thought it was over, and yet you're still here. That means you've got more in you. That means there's still more strength to be discovered. Don't walk away from what you've worked for just because it's uncomfortable now. Discomfort passes. Regret does not. Make it your habit to rise. Make it your identity to be the person who doesn't quit. Not because things are always clear, not because it always makes sense, but because you've made a promise to yourself that your dreams are worth it, and that promise matters more than the pressure. Every time you stand back up, you build trust in yourself. You send a message to your brain that says, "We don't break under pressure. We respond with action." That kind of trust creates momentum. It creates consistency. It builds character. And those are the things that separate the people who talk from the people who win. Life will knock you down. That's not a question. But staying down is a choice. And that choice becomes a pattern. If you give up once, it becomes easier to give up again. But if you rise once, it becomes easier to rise again. Make rising your default. Make standing your habit. No matter how small the step, take it. You don't have to fix everything today. You just have to not give up today. You just have to make the decision to keep going. One more time. That one decision made over and over again will carry you through more than talent ever could. Keep standing. Keep fighting. Keep going. Your future is waiting for the person who refuses to stay down. Be that person. Be the one who always finds the strength to rise. Not because you feel like it, but because you know you must.